Hey, welcome back to Fat Mama Physics. As I promised, these are we're gonna go over some harder questions. I'm gonna show you a few more tricks, hopefully that you may be able to use later on. Okay, so first, let's start with the first example, which is a new trick I'll be teaching you. It's called factoring out the variable, or factoring, or just factoring in general. If we talk more about it, hopefully you will notice is kind of like the opposite of distributive property. For example, if I have 3 and I have x minus 1, okay? If I multiply 3 inside, then that's called distributing the 3 inside your brackets. I then get 3x minus 3. Now, what factoring is the opposite of distributive property. What does that look like? What this would be is I would put the brackets around the 3x minus 3, and then what I want to do is I want to divide both of these terms by the same thing. And if I divide it by the same thing, notice I can just divide it by the 3 like that. And then when I divide the 3 out, I put the 3 here on the outside of the brackets. So that goes away, and then that goes away, that becomes a 1. So then that just becomes 3, and in brackets, x minus 1. That's the idea of factoring out something from terms in general, just factoring. So then what we want to do is we want to apply this skill to our equations, because sometimes we might get we might see our variable appearing in more than one term, and the terms themselves might involve a whole bunch of other things which aren't just simple as coefficients, like 1, 2, 3. Because we know that, like for example this, we know that we don't need to factor out the x. Technically you could. You could be, okay, I want to factor my x out of here. So I factor 1 from each by dividing both of them by x. I get the x on the outside, and then it becomes x, and then I have 5 plus 3, right? That's just 8x. But then you know that I can just combine 5x plus 3x, that's 8x. So what this factoring does is, if instead of this 5 and a 3, we might have more complicated symbols in there, other things that are involved, which we can't simply just add the coefficients together. Then what do? We can use this little trick called factoring, okay? And in the first example, I have one where I have, let's say, a second variable in the equation. And you might say, oh no, second variable, it's just like any other number. You treat it like any other number, and you just let it be. It's just let it do its thing, okay? So let's take a look at this one. How do we deal with this? How do we isolate for the x here, okay? So what we want to do is we're going to, like I said before, we want to remember, in order to isolate for the x, we need x by itself, okay? So it's okay we don't know what y is. We don't have to, our final answer does not have to be a number, and I'll show you what that means. So here I'm going to put these brackets around the terms that contain my x. Then to factor my x out, I'm going to imagine I'm dividing both of my terms by x, and then I bring it out on the outside of the brackets. So I'm going to put the x on the outside of my brackets. Y divided by x is just y, plus 2x divided by x is just 2, and this is equal to 10, okay? And now I have x times whatever is inside the brackets. Because it's multiplying, I can then easily isolate whatever is inside these brackets by dividing both sides by y plus 2. And that gets rid of that one. Then I get x is equal to 10 over y plus 2. You might be thinking, wait, I don't get a final number? What? That's it. You just leave your answer like this. And it's okay to leave an answer with an unknown in there. It's totally fine. I know it's scary, but don't be scared. It's all good, okay? It's fine. That's just the answer. Okay, so guess what? I'm going to get you to try B, and then maybe I'll try C, I guess? Yeah, I'll probably try C, and then you do D, Okay, all right. Time to pause the video, try B. Okay, so I'm gonna go speed through this one. Notice there are 3 terms with the x variable. So I'm gonna bracket all 3 of them. I'm gonna divide the x from every single one and then factor it outside. So then I get x in brackets here. I get rid of x here, that just becomes 2y squared. This x factors out here, that is plus y. And this x factors out of this x, and it leaves us with 2, and then plus 2 equals 210. So now I have x by itself, but then multiply by this trail of big numbers. Now you might be thinking, oh, let's just do it right now. But wait a minute, let's move this 2 to the other side first, because if you divide this whole thing in brackets right now, then you would have to divide the 2 by that and the 10 by that as well. Remember, we treat all our terms fairly. So why do that if we could just combine these 2 numbers first? To do that, I'm going to minus 2 on both sides, and that's going to leave me with x, and in brackets 2y squared plus y plus 2, and this goes away. I get 8. Okay, and so now it looks like the last situation where all we have to do now is to divide both sides by this big trail of things in our brackets. And it's okay if it's got variables that we don't know what they are. Okay, these go away, and I have x here is equal to 8, and on the bottom 2y squared plus y plus 2. You might be thinking, hey, can I simplify it because I got 8 and 2 and no, you cannot simplify it like that, because this y here does not have a 2. If this y had a 2, you can divide 2 out of every term. Remember, we got to treat all our terms fairly. You could divide 2 out of here and then divide the 2 out of this 8 as well. So but you can't do that in this one. So don't just willy-nilly decide to cancel things out without finding a good reason to. Okay, so that's our answer. I just killed the box because I can't see the bottom question. Okay, so I'm gonna do C. All right, I should have done it in purple. Okay, we'll do the next one in purple. Okay, so here we have a similar situation, but notice we have x's on the bottom. And remember, we never like it when the x is on the bottom. We always like our variable on top. Okay. Again, we're going to solve for x. The common denominator here is x, of course. And the funny thing here is this one we can actually combine. Because they have the same denominator, I can actually just subtract that off. So I can hopefully make this a lot easier to look at. So I have 8 plus y, and then I have to subtract whatever is on top, which is everything, and since everything is just y squared, I subtract y squared like this, and the common denominator stays on the bottom. I am going to need to multiply everything by my common denominator right now, so that's multiplying both sides by the x. Okay, so that's multiplying this guy by x, and then the 2 by x as well. Don't forget that lonely 2, it's still a term. Remember, treat all terms fairly. This x cancels out with this x. I get 8 plus y minus y squared is equal to 2 times x in brackets x minus 1 plus 2x. Okay, next up we have distributive property. We got to distribute all of our x's here inside. That's going to give us, I'm running out of space, 2x times x is going to be 2x squared. Okay, 2 times inside is going to be minus 2x, and then plus the 2x over here. Oh, that's so nice. They just canceled out like that. Woohoo. Okay. And then last but not least, we then try to isolate for the x by dividing both sides by 2. So let's rewrite this out a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in. I get 8 plus y minus y squared equals to 2x divided by 2. And that's going to give me x squared, actually sure, I'll keep it on the same side. I get the other side of the equation all over 2 equals 2x squared. And if you're thinking, oh, you got to take the square root to cancel everything out, absolutely. So I take the square root like this, and the square root cancel out with my square, so I can just erase those 2. And I have everything here underneath my radical sign. And that's okay. If I have this big thing in my radical sign, just leave it. Please don't take the square root of this y squared, because you can't do that. You have to do it for the whole, imagine the top are all in brackets, right? So you kind of have to figure out everything in there first before you take the square root. Okay, bed mass. Don't forget your bed mass. You might be thinking, oh, we didn't really do any factoring there. I guess you're kind of right. We kind of just combined this term. Maybe I figured out a shortcut after I designed this question. So, lucky you, we didn't have to really do that. In the next one, however, I think you will need to do a little bit of factoring out. So, but you kind of seen that a similar question where you kind of have to deal with so many things at once. It might be a little bit overwhelming, so you just have to be very careful, okay? So here is question D. I'm going to give you a chance to try this one. Good time to pause the video. Okay, so I'm also going to do this question in purple, but I might use red to do some canceling out. Okay, so I'm going to do this quickly now. Finding the first step here, I would just find the common denominator, which is 2x. So I'm going to multiply all of my terms by 2x, including this guy here, and this 10 here by 2x. Everything needs to be multiplied by 2x. This x here cancels out with the x on the bottom, so I'm left with 2. And then inside, let's just divide this all up. I get 2 in brackets x squared plus xy minus x. Suspicious. And then over here, I have 1 over 2x, or x, or that's just 1, because the top and the bottom cancel. Very nice. On this other side, I have x times 2x, so that's just 2x squared, minus 10 times 2x, which is 20x, minus 20x. Okay, next up we're going to do a bit of distributing. So I'm going to distribute there, and I'm going to distribute the 2 inside these brackets. I get 2x squared plus 2xy minus 2x. Then I copy everything else down. Plus 1 equals to 2x squared minus 20x. Okay? So if you're watching this video, I hope that you will see number connections probably faster now because you've gained some confidence. You can see I have 2x squared and 2x squared here on the other side. I could just easily cancel that out. And really, that's just subtracting 2x squared on both sides of the equation. I am now left with 2xy minus 2x plus 1. And then on the other side, I have minus 20x. Guess what? I'm going to move the x's all on one side of the equation. And I'm going to add 20x over here. I'm going to add 20x over here. And you're right, that's going to mean I have 0 on the other side of the equation. That is okay. 2xy minus 2x plus 20x plus 1 is equal to 0. So now I'm going to combine these two over here, which is going to give me 2xy. That's going to be plus 18x, and plus 1 equals 0. Here is a good time to do some factoring now. Okay, so how to factor? I put in my brackets, divide by my x here to get rid of to put my x aside. I move this x to the outside of my brackets. I then get x in brackets, bam bam, 2y plus 18 plus 1 is equal to 0. Well then, if we know anything divided by 0 is going to be, if you take 0 divided by anything, you're going to get 0. But what we haven't done is we haven't moved the 1 to the other side. So let's subtract this 1 here. Okay, so that goes away. So instead of that 0, I am left with negative 1, which then I can divide both sides of my equation by 2y plus 18. 2y plus 18, okay? And then that gets rid of this over here, because x multiplies that, divide that, I cancel. X is equal to -1, don't forget the negative, over 2y plus 18. That is my final answer. Yes, we are done. It looks complicated, but it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so this is a trick that you can do, is to factor an x out so that you get x and then brackets something else, and to get rid of everything that's inside the brackets, you just have to divide, because then you can get x by itself. Okay, so great job guys, thank you for watching. Notice I have the second part to this video, which has to do with another trick I'm showing you, and has to do with flipping fractions around. So thank you for watching. See you next time on Fan Mom Physics, signing out.